Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. I'm Sam Carrico, and I'm thrilled you can join us for the last episode of our 2024 season. That's right, it's our season finale, and Oliver the Ricketts will be here soon to help us break down Venom: The Last Dance. I mean, what better way to end the season? But first, let me just say, I'm still recovering from our Joker 2 episode. Did you catch it? I'm pretty sure more people watched our review than the actual film. But Sam, not a lot of people watched your show. Yeah, I know. I tell you, if I had a nickel for every time I planned an entire season of this show, building up to several people traveling across the country to celebrate a film that completely flopped in theaters, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it is weird that it happened twice. Speaking of strange reactions, let's talk about Wicked. Have you guys heard about this? Cynthia Erivo, she's the star of the upcoming movie adaptation, she recently called out some fan edits of the film's poster, claiming they're, quote, the wildest, most offensive thing I have ever seen. Really, Cynthia? That's what gets you riled up? Look, we're just talking about some fans trying to pay homage to the original Broadway show. If you want to see something offensive, look at what they did to Taylor Swift in Cats. Now that's a crime against humanity. The script actually says crime against cinema, but humanity works too. Moving on, as some of you may have heard, I am attempting to watch 31 movies in 31 days for October. Yeah, I was able to meet my goal last year, and I'm trying again this year. I told my parents about my ambitious plan. They responded, 31 movies, huh? How about you try finding one girlfriend? Yeah, thanks for the support, Mom. One of the films I saw this month, though, was Smile 2. It was fine. There are a lot of people calling it better than the first film. I can't quite get on that train. To be fair, my theater experience felt more like a live podcast with teenagers in the back row chatting through the whole thing. Yeah, because who needs to watch the film whenever you got a front row seat to the latest TikTok gossip? Naomi Scott, she did do a commendable job at losing her mind, which honestly, if losing your mind were a legitimate career, I'd be the CEO of my own company by this point. I also saw We Live in Time, a romantic drama with Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield. Talk about scary. It brutally explores the highs and lows of relationships. I really should call her, honestly. Both leads are phenomenal, and the non-linear structure I thought really elevated it. It might be my favorite movie of the year, at least until Anora comes out. Yeah, Anora, it'll come out during our hiatus, but I'm already hearing really good things. Red Rocket filmmaker Sean Baker directs Mikey Madison from Scream 5 in this movie about a sex worker. Need I say more? The Best Picture race is just starting to heat up, and we're going to break it all down next season on the Film Fanclub show. Which brings me to my final announcement. While the Film Fanclub show, I can confirm we will return for another season next year. It will also be our last season. September 2025 will mark 10 years since the launch of the very first episode. 10 years. Ladies, if you're looking for a guy who can commit, but instead of dragging things out until we fizzle out, I want to go out with a bang. I'll have a lot more to say on this in the months to come, but for now, let's dive into Venom 3. Is this movie a symbiotic success or box office poison? All right, let's welcome tonight's guest. He has a YouTube channel called Other Productions and Media. He's also a contributor to the Designing Hollywood YouTube channel. Welcome back to the show, Oliver Ricketts. Hey, Oliver, how are you?
Hey, Sam, how are you, man? Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thank you so much for being here at the season finale of the Film Fanclub show for our 2024 season. You've kind of been one of my favorite new guests that's come on this year.
Oh,
So
well, we love that.
end the year strong, you know. I mentioned We Live in Time is one of my favorite years of the film so far. So what is if 2024 last episode of the year, is there a movie this year that you've seen what's your favorite movie this year so far?
I gotta be honest, man. There have been a couple ones where I'm like, that was a great film. I for a long time it was Dune Part 2.
Okay.
Then Challengers I thought was incredible. Recently I love We Live in Time, but my favorite movie of the year for sure, without question, since I've seen it, was Late Night with the Devil with David Dastmalchian.
Oh, that was so good too. Yeah.
It really was. And it's so like it's a little bit of a niche case for me because late night television and like that talk show format was such a comfort for me as a child. So
Yeah.
you take that and you make it scary, it's like that really worked on me.
Oh man.
I'm also a huge Evil Dead fan, so when you get to the end and they're doing those like kind of corny effects where everybody's like, "Oh, I tuned out at that," I'm like, no, that was what was fun about the movie was when he electrifies the kid.
It's
Love
make it the top five of the year. So I mentioned the monologue. I'm going to
it.
leave
Mhm.
room to be corrected when Anora comes out. That's going to come out between our
Sure.
this season and next season. So we'll see whenever I do the top five of 2024 video. We'll see how it shakes out. But man, putting that list together is going to be hard. I don't know. Because yeah,
It's been tough. I've had a running list of I try to keep it to 10. And then I'll do like in my top 10, I'll do like honorable mentions and I'll do
yeah,
like superlatives like the yearbook. So I'll like include like worst movie of the year, most fun, whatever, and those will be the extra ones that didn't quite make it.
yeah.
But it's been hard to narrow down to even like 15 because it's just like I always try to pick things that I have strong opinions about rather than things that are like objectively this is the best. Because if I'm gonna make a video that it's like, well, I gotta say something.
Yeah. You also were on the show for Deadpool and Wolverine, our most viewed episode of the Film Fan Club show now, if you can
Hey, how
believe it.
about that?
Yeah, hey, the downside is it's also our most disliked episode of the Film
Oh,
Fan
I'm
Club
sure it
show.
was.
Uh, did you
I
happen
didn't
to catch any of
um,
the backlash to that? Because I caught a lot of it.
well, I didn't catch it on the Film Fan Club show, but I did my own stream where I just talked about kind of like a lot of the things that we talked about because every year I do a National Spider-Man Day stream.
Right.
And that was right after Deadpool. So I made it a double header. And what really struck me is how because I gave the movie a B minus,
Yeah.
like it was whatever, like I liked it. I've seen it 3 times. But it's one of those movies where it's like the appraisal by the internet is it has to be the best thing in the
Yes.
world. But then at the same time, if you go on Twitter right now, we've shifted. It's like Spider-Man No Way Home, where it's like it had to be the best thing in the world until now, it's actually the worst thing in the world. And if
Oh,
you,
really?
oh, yeah.
Oh my God, people have caught up to me because you remember my video was titled Deadpool and Wolverine is a 4 out of 10. Here's why. And I felt bad for you because in the video you make very clear, look, it's like for me, it's like a 6 bordering on a 7. It's not a bad film. It's not like the best film ever. You were very like, recommend it,
Yeah.
soft recommend. And meanwhile, but because it was the Film Fan Club show with Sam Carrico who hates it, I felt like a lot of the comments were like, these guys suck. And I'm like, you could just
Nah,
tell
man,
who
'cause I
hadn't
did
watched the
I
video.
did my midway point thing on my channel and I still got all that like you're the actually I got the funniest comment of my entire YouTube career across I've been on 5 different YouTube channels. This is my number one favorite comment is I was talking about how like the movie was just kind of average to me.
Yeah.
And so many people decided to come out and call me old. Um I'm 26. Like
That's so funny.
so like it's all these like Gen Zers and like I'm in Gen Z. I'm on the like tail end,
Yeah.
But
Oh,
it
that's so
somebody
funny.
came out and went, well, hopefully after your 5 decades on Earth, you can decide what a better movie is. Like you think I'm 50?
Oh man. And
And then
and
I
I
also love the like first because I did like a video where I was like, oh, if I were to rank like the 3 big multiverse movies, I'd go Spider-Man No Way Home #1. And as a joke in the video, I was like, yeah, it has Spider-Man in it. So obviously #1. And then I said Doctor Strange #2, Deadpool #3.
oh.
Uh, but somebody comes in and goes, well, does Spider-Man dance? I'm like, well, first of all, Spider-Man very notably dances. Spider-Man 3, one of the biggest
Yeah.
Spider-Man moments that there is. Actually, yeah, he does. And secondly, like I love that all these people that like really were so into Deadpool, like are also apparently young enough that they don't know Bye 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 by NSYNC, or that it's like a boy band song. Like it's like how that has been reappraised is like, well, that's a cool song now. And it's like, well, it's not cool for the reasons that you guys are saying that it's cool. Like, it's an
Yeah.
ironic needle drop.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so sick of not to make this into a Deadpool and Wolverine
I don't
review
know.
again, but I'm so sick of the Marvel formula of like, all right, let's take some old song and repurpose it, and then it seems like all that stuff felt like so. the formula that they established with Guardians of the Galaxy that they've been aping for
Oh
the
well,
past
everybody's been
10
trying to
years.
rip it off. That's like one of my biggest hopes for Superman is like I'm very excited for James Gunn's Superman. I think he has the right sensibilities to do that. No needle drops, please. It's
That would,
not we don't
yeah.
need it. It was perfect for Guardians specifically. Let's do a new thing for this.
And yeah, I almost agree with you because he's the person who popularized it with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep.
Maybe he's the one who has the restraint to say, no, Superman of all things does not need that. I don't have that much faith in James Gunn. I particularly
Oh, I
wished that
love.
Todd Phillips was doing the DC cinematic universe, but that's just me. I love
I'm
Joker
gonna
too, by
try
the
to
way.
avoid some of those flames in the comments. I'm not gonna tell you my opinions on Todd Phillips.
No, nobody gave us backlash actually for very outspoken Joker 2 is a masterpiece, and nobody gave me shit for that. It's just whenever you dislike the wrong, you can like the wrong thing. It's okay. It's when you dislike the
When you
wrong thing.
dislike the wrong thing, well, you have to like and dislike exactly what Twitter tells you to like and dislike at the same time that it tells you that.
Yeah, and then 6 months later you can flip your opinions, and then it'll
Six
be
months
correct.
later, you start going, well, Wolverine kind of looks like a video game character, doesn't he?
That's
That's
what you said in the yes.
you know.
Ah, that's awesome. All right, let's see what kind of hot takes we can have for Venom. So, we haven't reviewed any of the Venom movies on this YouTube channel. We're going to review Venom: The Last Dance, basically starting now. But first, I'd like to ask you about the previous two Venom movies. You're very outspoken as a Spider-Man fan. I've always been like, you can't do Venom without doing the symbiote
Agree.
storyline with Peter Parker first. So I've never really been there for the Venom. I've never really been on board for to quote a friend of mine, I fundamentally disagree with your interpretation of this character. So, like, I've never really been on board for that. Did you have the same kind of situation going on? What is your
I
history with this series of Venom films?
I made a video in 2018 that at the time was my most popular video. That has since been copyright struck. It's gone. But it was all about how it was copy struck by Sony, so thank you, Sony. But it was just a trailer review of the first Venom movie, and we were talking about how it just did not make any sense to do Venom without Spider-Man. But even if you weren't a fan, so I had my wife was in that video, and she doesn't care, you know. And I asked her, like, does this look appealing to you? And she sees movies, she loves this stuff. Does this look appealing to you? She goes, no. What about it would seem appealing to anybody? And when you see Venom, it's not just Spider-Man, because we had to get over that in the first year. It was like, okay, they're not doing Spider-Man. I get that. That did not excuse the movie being as dull as it was.
Yeah,
And after the movie came out, it also definitely should have been a hard R. Um,
100%.
but how hard people defend that first Venom movie is still insane to me, especially because that's what spawns on Morbius and Madam Web. And it's like, can we at least look at it and say, no, it was a bad idea?
Yeah.
Um, but like, I remember when that first came out and people were like, oh, but don't you love like the action? It's like, well, I would, but I can't see any of it actually.
That
So,
was my thing. Is like I remember Venom, the villain, I think is Riot, played
right.
by a good actor,
Dev Patel.
Riz Ahmed.
Oh,
Is Riz,
Riz Ahmed.
Riz Ahmed, yeah. Right after, or no, right before Sound of Metal. So right before he makes his Academy Award run, it
Yep.
was like Riz Ahmed at the peak of his career. You got a great, like, and then they cover him in black goo and make the two black goo people fight each other, and I can't see anything because it's at night. I think I remember the climax is at night in the
Awful.
first movie. It looked horrible. And then of course, yeah, I'm so stubborn. I'm just like, which again, I love Joker too, but I'm like, wow, you're not doing the Venom storyline from the comics? How dare you?
Well, Joker 2, like, and I hated Joker 2, but I will say it's different than Venom because at least there's like an artistic idea there. When you
Yes.
look at all of the Sony Spider-Man stuff, the biggest problem is not that Spider-Man is not there as much as it is refusal on a studio level to understand what we like about Spider-Man. You could make Venom be this universe's Spider-Man. You could do that. And you could also
Yeah.
interpret the character in a way that is similar to what's on the page, but that's not what this movie does. I think the only time they've ever gotten it right was Let There Be Carnage. And I think Andy Serkis is part of that. I know
Oh
that's the
yeah.
one that everybody is like, well, that's the worst. But to me, that's at least very similar to the Lethal Protector run. You have the romantic comedy between Eddie and Venom. I think it knows that it's stupid. Like it's well aware that it's stupid the entire time. It's short, and even though I only grade the movie as a C plus, it's like a guilty pleasure for me because I'm like, hey, C plus, but I would still put this on a plane.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if I've ever rewatched a Venom movie. I don't think I will ever in my life. I don't think I ever rewatched the 2018 one, and I know I didn't rewatch Let There Be Carnage. I did see
I
it.
don't blame you. I'm a
It,
glutton for punishment. That's
it was the one Let There Be Carnage came out and they're like, here's why Venom is a gay icon,
well,
actually. And I'm like, what?
nothing is funnier. Nothing is funnier than the title drop of Let There Be Carnage, where I don't know if you remember that post credits in the first Venom movie.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
But Woody Harrelson is in jail. He's got that wig, that Wendy's wig on, and he looks right at the camera and he goes, "There's gonna be carnage." And then Sony turns around and go, "Yep, that's him. That's him."
So picture this, and it goes, there's gonna be
There's gonna be
carnage.
carnage, which is essentially the equivalent of being like, "Well, there's gonna be Spider-Man 3." Because then you turn around and the next movie is, "Oh, he said there's gonna be let there be carnage." Then
Oh, that's awesome. That makes the whole like the movie can exist now just because that's so stupid. But I love it. I love it. It's so brazen. And yeah, that's the difference between Joker 2 and these movies. Is these movies feel very much like the same commercialized superhero slop that Madam
yeah.
Web was, that Morbius was. I don't know why people. I can see a little bit after talking to you why people excuse the first Venom movie, but people that try and convince me that it's actually good, nuh-uh, I'm not falling for
Oh
that.
no, it's none of them are good. I will go Venom 2, I think excusable. We
Okay.
can skate by if you really love Venom, and also specifically it's not an origin story. So it doesn't change anything about what the character is either.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of like taking the dynamic of Eddie and Venom and saying, well, they're in love with each other. In not so many words. That works for me because that goes on to the like, because the whole Venom iconography is about this like split personality, two people sharing a body. That makes sense. And in a smarter movie, that would have been really interesting.
What did you think of the third movie? I have some plot beats in a second we can go over, but if we're gonna do a really quick, like your Rotten Tomatoes kind of title DVD, kind of thing, how would you say you thought? What would you say you
Well,
thought of the third movie?
I got to eat a little shit here because I made a whole video about how the trailer, I was like, I think this could be the one. I think we could finally have something that works if we lean into this Venom Eddie romance thing and just go all out on that. But Sony is going to be Sony. This is a D minus, man. I was actually, it is the first time it's unique because all the other Sony movies like Morbius, who thought it was going to be good. This is the first time I've walked into one and been like, I'm just here for fun. And then Sony was like, actually, I'm going to spit in your mouth.
It was pretty bad. Yeah, again, I've only seen the first two Venom movies once. Like I knew what I was getting in this movie, and I was like, I was like, man, this is a slog to get through. I also there's a couple moments where I have a little bit of fun. But then I don't know if it's because it's trying to lean into the silliness and I hate it, or because there's something like, The Last Dance, Venom dancing and with the Mrs. Chen and all that stuff. I just roll my eyes and I'm like, come on, what are we doing here, movie? I
Well,
don't
you
know.
know why that doesn't work? Where Venom 2 has that scene where Venom goes to the gay nightclub and people roll with it because the whole movie has been so over the top silly. The
Yeah.
problem with Venom 3 is that Venom and Eddie are the same characters that they were in the last movie. Cool. And actually, I think they're the only part that works. Then
Okay.
you have Chiwetel Ejiofor. You have the scientist, Rooney, the
The blonde
scientist
scientist?
who's missing the arm. You have all of these scientists working at Area 51 who are delivering the most stilted exposition dialogue as if they were trying to do Citizen Kane. They're so self-serious. And when you have something that's trying to be really self-serious, you can't then turn around and have Venom dance with the convenience store lady.
Mm-hmm. It's like it's trying to do like a sentimental. The trailer kind of speaks to this a little bit. Trying to do a sentimental, the last dance, one last ride kind of thing. Let's put this baby to bed, kind of like sentimental, wisty. And then also like, we're just having fun. This is get good. You know, it's like The Room. We're just having fun here. What are we doing?
Well, and the thing is, those could go. I really think they could go if those were the only things in the movie. Because you could be silly the entire time. Somebody making you laugh does make them endearing to you.
Okay.
So if you just act silly and make me laugh for the entire movie, by the end, you'll get me if you kill one of those characters. But when you make them only, 25% of the movie and the rest is Sony exposition so they can cram as many symbiotes into the end of the movie as possible,
Yes.
you've wrecked your C plus and turned it into a D minus.
And can I say what you talked about making Venom the Spider-Man of this universe really spoke to me. I was like, wow, we could have done a Venom origin story in Venom Part 1, have
Yep.
Carnage as the villain, and then from there, this is the Spider-Man less Sony Spider-Man universe, but let's use the Spider-Man
universe that has something to do with Spider-Man, I think, to quote Michael Keaton.
exactly. Start using the Spider-Man villains that you have the rights to, and just fuck it, make them Venom villains. Venom is Spider-Man. Like you, if you're making Venom a hero, basically a funny, silly guy hero, like that's like, because I mean, he's an anti-hero, but like, he's basically a good guy in these movies.
Right.
Just make him Spider-Man. And the fact that we're at the third movie and I'm like, we're doing symbiotes as the villains again? Holy shit. I'm just so tired of it.
My trailer review, but what else is Sony putting out this year? We have Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah.
And the biggest complaint about Kraven is that Kraven is not a vegetarian. He's not an animal rights activist, which is what they're doing in this movie. He doesn't hunt other hunters. He's so bored with killing animals that he's turned not just to man, but he believes Spider-Man is the ultimate prey. Right?
Yep.
We could still do that without Spider-Man by having Kraven hunt Venom.
Oh my God. Yeah, exactly.
And it even makes sense. All of the big superhero movies this year were team up superhero things. Like that was the big marketing push of this year. You had Joker and Harley. You had Deadpool and Wolverine.
Well, I don't want to diminish Joker 2 just to that. But yeah, the marketing, yes, was.
But that was
about,
what they pushed was, hey, it's Joker and Harley.
Yeah.
All
the posters, yeah, you're right. It was the two faces. I just
don't see, if you're Sony, why. And here you have a movie where Venom is being hunted. What happened? Yeah. What happened where you didn't say Kraven and Venom? I think you don't get something that tops Deadpool and Wolverine market-wise, but if you put those characters together on a poster, you get something that at least competes.
Yeah. Yeah. It just speaks to the lack of awareness for what the audience wants that Sony has. That makes sense. The Sony has a huge lack of awareness for what their market is and what they want.
And that's always been the case. It has always been, how do we sell toys? Which is the Kraven and Venom thing is definitely, 2 rounds of action figures, Yeah.
And they're cheap. I'm sure they're cheap action figures to make because they're all just Venom action figures, but you can just make one purple, you can make one green, you can make one have long hair, and that's it, but it's a Venom action figure.
Yep.
Would you recommend this film before we do some spoilers?
I wanted, before seeing it, I wanted to champion this movie. I wanted to say, because I heard through the grapevine this whole thing might be over. Hey man, this might be it, but this one was good. They just beat me down with all of their Sonyisms. Like by the end, when they're playing radio hits that are owned by Sony Music Group, it's like, this is what you've been doing to Spider-Man since I was 10 years old. Like, I'm sick of it, man. I really would not recommend it. I hope that it tanks because this has to change. And I think obviously this movie was always going to come out and Kraven was always going to come out because they're done. But I really thought after Madam Web, we might be in a position where they take a look and go, hey, maybe this is not working. But if this movie is a financial success, that will not happen.
I would not recommend this movie either. I really do hope it. Let's hope. I've Smile 2 was okay, but I really hope that's nothing more than Smile 2 to beat Venom this weekend. And and just tank the the franchise. Well, I mean, obviously they have the out. It's kind of like what Joker did. What I love about Joker 2 is Todd Phillips is like, you can't fire me, I quit. So they kind of have a little bit of that going on here, where yeah, we already said it was the last dance. What do you? But I hope this really discourages Sony from doing more superhero movies after Craven or whatever the hell is next. Let's do some spoilers. A big part of this movie was in the last couple days on Twitter, the dialogue was all about, oh my God, Null, this character that I had never heard of that was invented 8 years ago, is going to be in this movie and might even set up Spider-Man 4. Null has what, 2.5 scenes in this movie? I don't even know why you bring in Andy Serkis. They said Andy Serkis plays him. I guess he read 3 lines while he was on the lot, one day. Because I don't see because he's looking down the entire time, and then he looks up. He looks up in a mid-credits scene.
It's such a Sony move to go, yeah, we'll cast this later with some. That's like when the Amazing Spider-Man 2 got scrapped, and they rolled out in that leak. They had the script for Amazing Spider-Man 3, which did feature the Sinister Six. And when they show Doc Ock in that script, I've read the whole thing, the stage direction actually says he's played by George Clooney or Brad Pitt or somebody like that.
Nice.
That's exactly what they're doing here, which like, we'll leave that vague as long as we can, and then whoever we get is who we get.
Yeah. Is this going to lead into Spider-Man 4? Because just for the
so.
audience that's watching, that loves the Film Fan Club show but didn't see he's not defeated by the end of this movie. He basically he's a stagnant character the entire time, right?
Nothing happened. There is no villain of this movie.
Well, there's xenomorphs. They just completely ripped off the xenomorph from the Alien franchise, plopped him into here, and then that's your villain.
Man, I really hope it doesn't. The last thing that Marvel needs is for Sony to try to connect this in.
They want to, though.
They do a ton of that. I love that they want so badly to connect to Disney's Marvel Spider-Man thing.
Yeah.
That now they're taking side bartender characters and working them into their universe.
Yes. Well, was there a moment where I saw... was it right after Venom came? Because at the beginning of this movie, Venom is in the No Way Home universe.
Yep.
Comes to this universe.
Which is completely pointless, by the way, and is just Sony trying to find a way to work Marvel into the trailer.
Right. Is there a moment where he looks up and sees something else come in from the MCU, where he sees like another one? Or am I missing?
If there is, I didn't catch it.
I could have sworn
that's totally that's their vibe. I'm sure that maybe that's the Vulture, because who the hell knows how he wound up in Morbius.
Yeah, or maybe I'm misremembering from a later part in the film, and there's definitely a moment where Eddie, like in a haze, looks up and sees a portal open and something comes through it. It could be a xenomorph, or it could be them trying to say, look, something else from the MCU came over. What is it? We won't say now, but we'll say later. I don't know. I could be. Let me sound off in the haters. 1,200 people that hated Deadpool and Wolverine. Let me know in the comments section below. No, I really hope it goes nowhere. I was very let down by that. I did not know anything about this character or why I should be excited for him, and I was still let down.
And I know, so I'm a big Spider-Man fan. Been reading the comics my whole life. I'm not a big symbiote solo guy, so I have not read anything with Null in it. But from what I understand, people love that character.
Okay.
Like in the comics. This is like very similar to like Gore being in Thor 4, where it's like we're very psyched. But if I were a Null fan, this is insulting. This is Venom in Spider-Man 3 level insulting, where it's like people wanted this really bad. And then to show it to them just to get them in the movie, he's not even really in the movie. He doesn't stand up.
Yeah, that's a great way he doesn't even get out of his chair, for Christ's sakes. Like, if this was The Dark Knight, and that was all the Joker did in the movie, I would be so let down. As a Joker fan, as a Batman fan, I'd be like, this is a disgusting example. So yeah, to put it in that perspective, that's a good way to think about it. And then to
say Spider-Man 4, it's like I know Sony wants to do some multiverse thing in Spider-Man 4, which they really should not do.
Yeah.
I follow leaks pretty intensely. It does seem like it's maybe going the other way and that's not going to happen, but we'll
So like
see.
they might do like a street
Yeah.
level
Yeah.
solo kind of. Oh, that's good.
Which we hope. But even the concept of like, oh, now Null is in Spider-Man. It's like, well, Null is not a Spider-Man villain. He's a Venom villain. He's never been in a Spider-Man book.
Yeah.
Who cares about Spider-Man meeting Null? And the whole like arc and concept of Null is it's Venom's like redemption story to becoming a hero. It has nothing to do with Spider-Man.
And the fact that, again, it's just so disappointing. The fact that, and by the spoilers, by the end of this movie, Venom, the symbiote, dies, or does he? We'll get to that. Without even really defeating Null, without even facing Null, I could see that. Like, maybe you can fill me in the comics. That maybe is his come to Jesus moment. He
Yep.
head on, face to face, takes down his demonic creator and overcomes them and becomes a good guy. Doesn't even do, again, Null does not stand up in
Doesn't
this
even
film.
meet
Doesn't
him.
even really know that Venom exists, probably. And Venom dies.
That is equivalent again to doing a Venom movie without Spider-Man. To saying, yeah, well, because they keep saying, oh, we're gonna do Null somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
So are you going to do it without Tom Hardy's Venom? Because
What's the point?
The point of this character was to like make Venom a hero.
What they want is they want Null to be the Thanos. They saw him sitting in the chair in the concept art, and some executive was like, you know what that reminds me of, right? We could
just do that.
Are you seeing this? Like, guys, come on.
How
Madam Web fights Null. Come on. Hello. Like,
how insane would it be to get like, oh, we're doing the Sandman movie, Sandman versus Null, because that's where we're going.
Sinister Six versus Null. That's what they want. That's probably what they want. I swear to God.
Oh yeah, you're not. I mean, they want Null to be in Spider-Man 4 for sure, but they're not going to get that. And I'm sure
Disney's going to slap that
thing,
down. Yeah.
That's going in Drew Goddard's Sinister Six. You're right.
100%. Yeah, that's the thing. This is all leading up to. It's going to have Sydney Sweeney. It's going to have Morbius.
It's going to have Sydney Sweeney as Black Cat and Sydney Sweeney as Spider-Girl at the same
time.
Yeah,
I see that. I keep seeing that casting rumor, and I'm like, wait a second, guys. Come on. Is she doing?
Honestly, I'm all for that. I think but only if they do the street level Spider-Man thing, because Black Cat fits great with that whole thing.
Yeah, fuck up your Sony Cinematic Universe of Spider-Man characters as much as you want. I don't care. Like, fuck that up. Do whatever you want. As long as Spider-Man 4 is close-ish to the same quality of the first three Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, I'd be really happy.
Yeah, well, that was kind of the beauty of this whole thing at the beginning, was that they can do whatever they want in this little corner pocket. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's imaginary.
Mm-hmm.
When they bought in the Vulture and Morbius, that does like raise the red flag of like, where are we going here?
Yeah. And they keep teasing, edging, one could say, with the Spider-Man, because they put the art in the Morbius trailer, but then take it out for the movie. And then this one is like, oh, is there like they
keep teasing this thing nobody wants.
Yeah. And it's like, look, we're gonna bring him in. No, we can't. Like, what is it? Reese Ifans?
Reese Ifans.
It was in this movie, and for until they named him, I was like, "You're not gonna, are you? Are you?"
You can't convince me that was not the original plan.
You really think so? Like, eventually, it was gonna be like, "Yeah, Martin is my middle name. My first name is Kurt, and my last name is Connors."
I'm not gonna throw names, and I'm not gonna throw where I came across this information. But I do have it on pretty good authority that Andrew Garfield was in this movie.
Originally, what?
Yeah. I don't know if they ever shot with him or what.
But a version of the script had Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in it. Wow. Was it an entirely different storyline? Was it in this storyline? Do you know?
So I don't know if you remember, but back when Madam Web was coming out, there was this leak that both Madam Web and Venom 3 were about child Peter Parker being in this universe and coming across these characters.
Oh, I forgot about that tie-in in Venom 3. Yeah.
So Venom Madam Web. Right. So Venom was going to be that kid is now 10 years older, which is why Madam Web is in the 90s.
Oh my God.
And that kid in the car, I don't know if you noticed, looks a lot like Amazing Spider-Man 1 child Peter Parker.
Oh my God.
So I'm sure, and again, I don't have a copy of this script. I only have heard through certain people that I can't name that this is what was going to happen.
Wow. I'm so glad that
Um,
they had somebody somewhere that was like,
somebody,
probably
and I
some
don't know
Disney
how far along that
liaison.
idea got either. I don't know, like, that could be a draft thing that,
Yeah.
I'm sure the idea was going to be, oh, we'll say that this is the Amazing Spider-Man universe. This is in that time period where they're friends with the Lizard, like
Yeah.
Peter Parker's parents. They're on this road trip, and that was going to be them. And at the
Mm.
end of the movie, the post-credit was going to be, oh, Andrew Garfield is Spider-Man, and surprise, it was Tassim the whole time.
I hate that. I'm glad that never happened.
Would have been terrible.
Which again, The Amazing Spider-Man's not even really good movies. So I'm like, but like, just stop it. Stop it.
It would have been insane, and it also is. I would like to think that the reason it stopped is because they were like, oh, we have Rhino in the Craven movie, but we know that nobody paid that close
No
attention in
one gives a
continuity.
shit. Yeah.
It's because
And
they cannot decide which Spider-Man they want to be. I guarantee you.
yeah.
Do we want this to be Toby? Do we want this to be Andrew? Or should we just stick to Tom Holland?
I love that it's choice paralysis that's kept Spider-Man out of these movies for so long. They're like,
I don't
which
know
one do I do? I don't know.
And the real answer, honestly, they should just give this its own Spider-Man. And with these movies being the joke that they are, do like a Colossus in Deadpool, like annoying Boy Scout Spider-Man.
Something like that. Yeah. That lets you know, okay, this isn't
It's a joke.
real Spider-Man. Yeah. This is a parody
He
of
could
Spider-Man
never
almost.
unmask himself, and it's just like how Venom sees Spider-Man.
Yeah. Really quickly, in the last 4 minutes that we have, is Venom the symbiote dead or not?
No, they'll bring him back. They're going to decide if they want to try to force that into the MCU, or if we're getting. You know what though? That's going to come down to if they keep making Sony villain movies.
Yeah. Because they have two options, right? They left it in the bar in the MCU, right? Is there and then they left it in the, I believe that I didn't stay for the post-credits scene. I'm sorry, but from what I understand, you could see it on a cockroach or something.
Yeah,
So,
that's correct.
Two options.
Two options. Venom attached to a bug and then somehow finds Tom Hardy, which I'm sure is realistically what they're going to do with anything. It's just so weird because it's like you could do Black Suit Spider-Man versus Kingpin with Daredevil in the MCU, and everybody wins. Everybody gets to sell their toy.
Yeah.
It's so fucking bizarre, man. I don't know what to make of it. If it tanks at the box office, he's not coming back.
Yeah.
But if this franchise continues 2 or 3 more movies, we're gonna hear Venom 4 is coming.
Let's go, Smile 2. Oliver the Ricketts.
You know what? Maybe you'll get your wish. Maybe Joker beats this one out this week.
Oh, Joker Part 2, Smile, starring Jack Nicholson. Jack is back as the Joker. I love it. Oliver the Ricketts, thank you so much for joining the show. What an amazing note to end this season of the Film Fan Club show on. Do you want to let everybody know about other productions and media and where they can find you online before we...
Yeah. I've been on a little bit of a hiatus, but I will be back hopefully December. We got a couple really cool projects coming, some long-term stuff. I'm actually doing a video. I'm doing Doc Ock for Halloween this year, so we're going to go into how I did that. And I make little documentaries about little curiosities. Soon, I'm posting this one about crushing a watermelon with my thighs, which I always come on this show and talk about.
Eventually.
I promise it's happening. The melon has been crushed. So I'm doing all of that. We're also launching a quick little trivia show. Sam is on an episode of that. That's going to be great. It's coming soon. So follow me. I'm doing all kinds of stuff over there.
Of course, I'll have the links to your channels in the description of this video or in the show notes on the podcast feed. Coming back in December, just in time for Kraven the Hunter. Oliver, thank you so much.
Sam, thank you for having me, man.
All right, that's our show. I'd like to thank Oliver Ricketts for joining me for the season finale of the Film Fan Club show. Subscribe on YouTube if you want to be the first to catch the season premiere whenever it drops next year. In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitch, Apple, Spotify if you want to get exclusive bonus discussions. And if you want to see clips from previous episodes of the Film Fan Club show, follow us on TikTok at the Film Fan Club. I'm Sam Carrico. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you soon.